يغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وابتغوا إليه الوسيلة وجاهدوا في سبيله لعلكم تفلحون رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Inshallah, in this khutbah, we'll be talking about something very, very important for all of us to be reminded all the time. A few years ago, before I started, a few years ago, there was a girl. She converted to Islam. She became a Muslim. She was happy, finding a new religion, finding that answers that she was looking for, and she was very happy. But within just a matter of few months, she left Islam. And when she was asked, why did you leave Islam? She said that I did not feel that connection with Allah. My heart was still empty. I felt the same way when I was in Islam and when I was not a Muslim. So it was for me the same thing. So what is the point for me to wear hijab and all those things when I don't feel it? And this is something, dear brothers, we all have problem with. A lot of Muslims, they leave their prayers, they leave zakah, they leave fasting and everything, because even though they are doing it continuously, but at one point they leave it because they don't feel that connection. And depending on your situation, someone can find that connection when they start practicing Islam or when they come into Islam first time. It could be for a day, for some people it could be a week or month, 6 months, things like that. Like it depends on who you are, how you see things, how mature you are. But a lot of the Muslims today, they give up on Allah Azza wa Jal, on this particular aspect of our religion, which is the connection with Allah Azza wa Jal, on almost like you will find in every community. There is a group of people who are not attached to the masjid, who do not care about the religion anymore, because they are, again, not finding that connection. I pray was a point, when I go to prayer, I feel nothing, I have no khushu. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even, when they become a practicing Muslim, in the beginning, they feel this promise of Allah coming true. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said, وَالَّذِينَ نَهْتَدُوا زَادَهُمْ هُدًى وَآتَهُمْ تَقْوَاهُمْ. That those who will seek guidance, I will increase زَادَهُمْ هُدًى. I will increase them in their guidance, and I will give them taqwa. So the taqwa is gone. After some time, the taqwa is gone. Now, this is perhaps one of the main reasons why you will see people, the pagans, the mushrikun, they build idols, statues. Because if you see something, then it is easy for you to connect. And this is absolutely forbidden in our religion. You cannot build a statue. So the pagans will do that, and a lot of the time they will tell you that the reason they're building these statues, these idols, is not because they worship them, or is not because they think this idol is God, but they want to pray to God through these idols. In other words, because they want to be connected with God by seeing something visually, they build these statues and they commit shirk. Same thing with Christianity. If talk about Jesus, you have paintings of different prophets. If you go to any church, you'll see that they're paintings, they're pictures of Jesus. And these are all false. But the reason they do it is because they want to be connected with something that is visible. Our religion is teaching us a complete different relationship between the Creator and the creation. We do not go by what we see, because we cannot see Allah Azza wa Jal. But what we hear, and what we hear is from the Quran. So we go by what we hear most of the time, not what we see. Some people may see miracles in their life, but that's a different story. But most of the time, our religion, Allah Azza wa Jal, for us to connect with Him, the only way we can really do it is, first of all, to believe in Him without seeing Him. The first condition of the very nature of human being to connect with something that is visible is taken out of the proportion. You will never see Allah in this dunya ever. So you have to forget about that and move on to the next one, which is how you can find connection with Allah without seeing Him is through the book of Allah Azza wa Jal, by listening to the recitation of the Quran. That's it. That's the only way. But it is easier said than done, because wallahi, we are all human beings. And a lot of us, we are busy, brother, what are you talking about, connecting with Allah? I'm busy with my life. I have to go to work, wake up in the morning. I don't have time to spend my time in ruku and sujood and be, righteous Muslim. I don't have time, man. Come on, forget about it. It's not going to happen with me because we're all busy. We are busy with dunya. We're busy with our family, our business. Then you also find it is hard for us to connect with Allah Azza wa Jal, to have that level of connection, is because we all commit sin. We can never get past over our sin. Like our sins are something that is haunting us all the time. In fact, Rasulullah he mentioned, "Innal mu'minina idha aznaba kanat nuqtatun sawdahu fi qalbihi." Rasulullah said that every time, "Innal mu'minina," indeed the believers, whenever they commit a sin, aznaba, they have a dark spot in their heart. When you pile up on your sin, the spot gets bigger and bigger. And at one point, you find it very, very hard to connect to yourself. People are ashamed of what they have done. So forget about connecting with Allah. They don't even want to come close to Allah Azza wa Jal because of that same reason. And also same time, we find our heart is something that cannot be easily attached to Allah Azza wa Jal because of the fact that our heart gets very rusty. Rasulullah he confirmed that in a hadith. Rasulullah said that لِكُلَّ شَيْءٍ سِقَالَةٍ, that everything has a polish, to clean it up. And the وَسِقَالَةٌ قُلُوبِ ذِكْرُ اللَّهِ, and the polish of the heart is the remembrance of Allah. The point here is that our heart is very hard sometimes for it to be attached to Allah Azza wa Jal, because when we commit sin, we develop that spot, that dark spot, and not only that, our heart gets very rusty. So at the end of the day, we might say, what, brother, it's not going to happen with me. I am just a human being. On top of all of this, we also have shaitan, who is working all the time. He's employed 24/7. So even though we find ourselves in a very difficult situation, to make it even worse, we find that shaitan now is tempting with different things to us. He's telling us, what do you talk about, God? Like even today, dear brothers and sisters, if you talk about God, Allah, and the heaven and hell, people will laugh at you. Why? Because shaitan وَزَيَّنَ لَهُمْ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ, shaitan has made the evil deed in their hearts something very fair seeming, very, very nice. So shaitan is working. So our heart is now getting even more pushed back when it comes to remembering Allah or making that connection with Allah. So in other words, if you take all of these excuses all together, some people may have one of these, some people may have two of these, or some people will find all of this at the same time. For example, this girl, I said she converted, probably she found all of it together. Shaitan was giving her waswasa, telling her that you have committed so much sins before you became Muslim, how can Allah forgive you? And then she was also working, in an environment where she was exposed to men in haram, environment. For us, it is very, very difficult. So what is the solution? If this is the situation, we cannot excuse ourselves on the Day of Judgment, because Allah Azza wa Jal will not take this as an excuse. What do you mean that you could not connect with me? What do you mean that you failed to establish a relationship with me? These all excuses will not benefit us on the Day of Judgment. We have to do something about it. And this is what Rasulullah he mentioned when he said that number one thing that I want to make point of, Rasulullah he said about the importance of the tahajjud prayer. He said the tahajjud prayer, qiyamul layl, when you pray at night, it is something that will bring you close to your Lord. As Rasulullah he mentioned, وَهُوَ قُرْبَةُ لَكُمْ إِلَىٰ رَبِّكُمْ, that it is that will bring you close to Allah Azza wa Jal. So the first step that we can take in order to overcome all these challenges and difficulties and be close to Allah and establish that connection is that we have to get out of our way and pray at night. Not only praying at night, but also giving or doing extra ibadah. That feeling when you pay someone charity, sadaqah, you feel very good in your heart. It's a kind of a sakina from Allah that comes to your heart. You feel like you have done something. You have sacrificed something for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. And when we do that, dear sisters, over and over and over again, the more we do it, the more we come close to Allah Azza wa Jal. وَإِنْ يَأْتَانِي يَمْشِي وَأَتَيْتُ هَرْوَلًا. That if you walk towards me, I'll run towards you. This is the promise of Allah. So we have to get out of our way and do things for His sake, sacrifice things. What we find at the same time very, very interesting is that, dear brothers and sisters, our connection with Allah Azza wa Jal and loving Him can also be manifested through loving each other. In fact, Rasulullah said that if you want to taste the sweetness of Iman, then you will find it when you love each other for only the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. And Rasulullah, he said, "Man kana yuhibbul mar'a la yuhibbuhu illa Allah." That whoever will love his brother for no other reason except for Allah Azza wa Jal, he will taste the sweetness. In other words, if you cannot see Allah Azza wa Jal, and we cannot, most of us cannot see Rasulullah. Some brothers are blessed with the dreams to see Rasulullah. We cannot see the Sahaba. Our next thing that would make us come close to Allah and establish that bond with Allah Azza wa Jal and strengthen it is actually through by meeting other Muslims and loving each other, because we love Allah Azza wa Jal. And this is Rasulullah, he said, you will taste your Iman, the sweetness of it, when you love each other for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal and for nothing else. And this is something, dear brothers and sisters, we take for granted a lot of the time. And wallahi, the more you study hadith, the more you study the Quran, you will find that this verse and this kind of hadith coming over and over again, where Allah Azza wa Jal is advising, is commanding the believers to love each other for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. This is and establish that bondship between each other. Because if you go back to the point I mentioned, where the mushrikun and the Christian, they love Jesus by looking at Him, or they love Allah by looking at the idol. Because we do not have those options, at least if you look at your brother, you remember Allah. That will bring you close to Allah. So you can replace those idols and those statues and those paintings by looking at your brother and loving him for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jalla. And sometimes you can even visit him. I'm not saying that if you don't love someone, or you have to love someone, I'm not saying that. I mean, just make it normal. Like whenever you see your brother, give him salam. Just basic things. I'm not saying you to kiss each other or hug each other every time you see them. It's not what I mean. You have to just have a place in your heart where you see your brother, and the moment you see him, because Rasul said that your brother is the mirror of yourself. You see yourself in the face of your brother. That's really what we need to do, and try our best to love each other. And the other thing that we can do in order to connect with Allah and establish that bondship, establish that connection, that relationship with Allah Azza wa Jal, is the same hadith where Rasulullah said, you will taste Iman وَمَنْ كَانَ اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ أَحَبَّ إِلَيْهِ مِمَّا سِوَاهُمْ. And the one who would love Allah and Rasul, His messenger, more than anything else. So you, as I said, you sacrifice everything for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal and for His messenger. You sacrifice the sins that you commit. You sacrifice even halal things that are allowed. For example, by giving charity, sadaqah. The money you have in your pocket, instead of spending on yourself, you can spend it for the masjid or for your brother. The point here is going out of your way. When you do it for the sake of Allah over and over again and His messenger, you will taste that sweetness, that connection with Allah Azza wa Jal, and Allah Azza wa Jal will, inshallah, keep you on the straight path, and you will not complain like this girl she did when she said, I couldn't find any connection. And this is not a process, dear my sisters, that you can do just one day or a week or 5 months, 6 months. It's a process of your lifetime. We have to keep doing it over and over again. Sometimes we might have to force ourselves. Sometimes you might have to make a lot of sacrifice for that. But at the end of the day, what really means is that our good deeds, and before we die, we die with our iman. And this is exactly what Rasulullah said, that you will be judged based on your final actions. Before you go to the grave, did you have iman or not? That's the only question. That's the main question. You could be a mu'min, a believer all your life, but before you die, you become a kafir, nothing will benefit you. So Rasulullah said that your action, the last one you do, will be the one that you'll be judged on. So if we continuously work on fixing our relationship with Allah Azza wa Jal, and we die with that, that's what matters. That's what will be judged on. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to grant us Jannah. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to forgive us our sins. Astaghfirullah innahu al-ghafurur rahim fastaghfiruh. Bismillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Inshallah, we'll end here. I hope this reminder will benefit all of us. I hope that inshallah, through this reminder, we will come close to each other. We'll be able to establish the relationship with Allah Azza wa Jal. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to give us the tawfiq for that. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to forgive us our sins. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to give us the tawfiq so that we can strive in His path. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to give us goodness in this dunya. Allahumma inna nas'aluka al-jannah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us jannah. Allahumma inna nas'aluka al-jannah. Allahumma inna nas'aluka al-jannah wa a'udhu bika minan nar. Allahumma ajinna minan nar. Allahumma ajinna minan nar. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون وأقيموا الصلاة